the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
I don't want to lose. I want to win.
I need professional help.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sports Betting Weekly, sponsored by EasySportsData.com. The books use data, shouldn't you too? And this is Easy Sports Data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
I win here and I win there. Now what?
Sports Betting Weekly.
I want to win.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk. Here comes the money.
You should also check out SportsBettingLessons.com. You'll learn some old tricks because sometimes how you bet is more important than who you bet. SportsBettingLessons.com.
Let's just do it. Let's meet this thing head on. And you were in it to win it. Talk about an education.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Wow, winning.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome to Sports Betting Weekly. I am second half Chaz, and as I mentioned to our wonderful co-host, John from GMF Sports Consultants and Blackhawk West from 151 Sports Investing. If anybody ever asks you to videotape a marijuana commercial, just be aware that unless you have special lighting, the smoke is not going to show up. And you could be set back and lose an hour and a half of work that day because after 5 takes, you're not able to work anymore for about an hour and a half. However, oh my God, my wife had gone shopping. She had just gotten home. She helped me with the last 2 takes. And let me tell you, there was nothing better than after 5 takes to not be able to get a commercial to drown your sorrows with a. She literally had grocery. I mean, she went shopping. She had 6 or 7 grocery bags on the counter. There was chips and nuts and fruit, and I didn't eat everything but the pork chops because she hadn't cooked them yet. But I must have gained 3 pounds today. So anyway, that's where I'm at, guys. Happy Thanksgiving in Canada. So right now we got to make some decisions on some live action because we have more than we normally do have. Mm-hmm. So we have did the Major League Baseball game end?
Yeah, that one ended. Astros are official. They won pretty convincingly at home. So that game is official. Astros won.
And that was a cash for John, right?
That was a cash. Yep, we were on the Astros, correct.
Talk West, any MLB today for you?
No MLB. I'm on college football live action right now.
All right, so we've got at 5:07 the Rays going. So John, you want to sit on that one and see what happens, and then
yeah, correct. I'm going to sit on this one. The Rays are a pretty hefty price at -155. The playoffs are always tough, so I don't feel quite comfortable laying that much with them today here, even though I do like them. I'm hoping that they go down, maybe by a run, and then I can get in on a price with them, in game. So that's what I'm looking at for them. Other than that, I'm on the same as Wes with some college tonight.
Yeah, if you did that last night with the Dodgers money line
wow.
on run line, that worked out well. Did you by any chance?
I did not. I stayed away from that one just because, once again, the price on the Dodgers was not worth any significant amount of risk. You have, even though the Dodgers are playing well, you have the Cardinals, who are probably the hottest team in MLB at this time of the year before yesterday, going down the stretch. So I stayed away, but that was the right play. If you like the Dodgers, just sit and wait. You would have got a good price on them.
You don't know what it was at that point?
No, in game I have no idea. I know pregame they were at -220, so there was even the -1.5 I think was -150 odds on them. So
yeah, so that flipped though. That down 1-0, that -1.5 had to go to +1 something.
Yeah, you were probably getting at least even to plus money odds. If you caught it when they were down 1-0. Yep.
All right, so where are you in your live action college games, Blackhawk West from 151 Sports Investing? I like saying that. I just like it.
All right, well, you can say it as much as you like. So I'm on Houston over 16.5 for the first half. I didn't like the 6.5 or the 7 just because I think Tulane has played some tough teams, which kind of dilutes the value of what their strengths actually are. So I approach this one with over 16.5 first half, Houston. And I know John and we're both on the mullets for the same first half.
I do know that Tulane plays well at home. They do. They play well at home. I don't know recently if they play well at home because they're 1-4. But again, those records are not against the spread, and I don't have that in front of me. Mostly because I am also on Coastal Carolina, but I am on them for the first quarter. That's my biggest bet of the day. And the reason is I've noticed that the higher the first quarter lines, the more they tend to cover. Oh, my goodness. It's amazing. These teams that are given 9.5 and they win 14, 17, 20 points in the first quarter. And Coastal Carolina can do that to people. So keep me up to date on that first quarter action. I'm going to slide over now to the NFL game. First what we're going to do is we're going to go backwards. Before we go forwards, we're going to go backwards. And because we got a couple number ones here. So, John, you were 4-1 last week in the contest, and that was your circa NFL entry. So give us an update on where you are, because you're doing very well there. Did I lose you? Hold on one second here. Let me see something. Yeah, it says that you're muted, John. You're talking up a storm.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah, there you are. We know you were going good. I could tell you. I could see you going. You were going. You were good. And you were passionate about it, too, mostly because you know what? You have a lot to be passionate about. You've done very, very well in 2 of the 4 weeks, right?
Yeah, you got me excited. I forgot to hit the unmute button. But let me go back and try to rebuild that momentum that I had before. But, yeah, we had a great week. We're now sitting at 14-6 total for the year, which is very, very good. As I was saying, but you couldn't hear me, there's no more perfect brackets. There's people are at 18, so we're right in the middle of the things. I'm very happy where I'm at, and hopefully I can keep going 4-1. Maybe get a 5-0 week in there to help me out. So,
yes, 70%, right? 14-6 is 70%. So you can't beat that. And actually 70%. Blackhawk West, your picks that you gave out for your Chicago Options Trader page, you were 7-1 as well. That's 70% too.
We lost one football game on Saturday, and it was
7-1 is more than that. I apologize.
Well, and we had 8 plays and we went 7-1, and it was a game that we, in the Midwest with what kickoff times are, it was a game we probably had no business playing, but it was a UCLA against Arizona State game. But yeah, we cashed every game, and it was just a fantastic week. And I advise everybody, take a cash out on Saturday, go into Sunday, cut your units in half, and protect your gains.
Yep.
Yeah, you got it. So tell me more about what happened with those plays that you put on that page.
Well, so we started off our week, with this show. We had Jacksonville. That was one of our circa plays. We had Jacksonville first quarter. Then we went into Friday, and we had Houston, and that cashed 5 times for us. Then we carried the momentum into the weekend. So we went into Sunday with about 17 winners and a couple live losers, but for the most part, that was how the weekend went. Last weekend on this show, we called out Air Force. Air Force paid us again. We jumped into some live action on Georgia because you knew it on the very first snap that Georgia was just going to shut them down that game. And then MSU has been another one that is cashed for us a couple times. And
welcome to Off Beat, where we have all new lower auto rates.
Was
you there? Keep going.
No, that was it. I could talk for a while about our weekend, but it was great. A lot of winners.
Well, talk to us, John, about the 4-1 week, and remind us who it was.
Yeah, well, the 4-1 week, the one loss, unfortunately, we had was the Tennessee Titans, which I think you could probably chalk that up to a majority of people there. I knew they had injuries at wide receiver, and I knew they were going through some issues, but man, I guess the Jets were tired of hearing me bash them the first 3 weeks of football, so I think they had a personal vendetta against me going into that game. Other than that, we had the last game that I remember that we capped it off with was the Chargers for the Monday night game, which I was actually going against the Raiders just because I just didn't like that matchup. San Diego was coming off a big win. They're very good defensively. If you remember what they did against Mahomes and KC the week before in KC. So I just kind of felt like San Diego was coming in that game with a ton of momentum. But other than that, it was a great weekend. I think I snuck the Colts in there too. off the top of my head that I remember, which was kind of a nice dog winner too. So very solid.
The Colts team total over has been hitting almost every single week.
Yeah, they've been consistent.
Yeah, they're scoring points.
Yeah.
All right, so where are we, Blackhawk West, with the Coastal Carolina game?
So you are 8 seconds away from cashing. The Mullets are up 10-0, and they just got the ball back. So we're in good position to put some more points on the board. They're on their own 40, but that first quarter minus 6.5, that is cash. The clock's at 0 for the first quarter.
How you doing on Houston?
And Houston, we're in a commercial break right now. So I thought they scored, or they were about to score. They were moving.
It says 14-0.
Okay, so we need 3 points. We need 3 points to cash on Houston, and we're not even in the second quarter yet. So the Mullets are going to have to score a little bit faster for us. But you got your 6.5.
That's all that matters. All right, so now where I'm at is I'm waiting to hear back from Petey. He's saying that we're not live on their feed. I'm not going to worry about that as much as just so you know that if you see me over here and I'm throwing you to just keep talking, don't be afraid to keep talking. Mostly because when you guys talk, people win. They cash tickets. So then I wanted to tell you what happened. I'm putting together what we call our checklist for the show.
All right.
I did everything on the checklist that I do every week, but now this week it's not working. But as you know, with me and the technology, it is what it is. Yeah, I give it 100%. I was supposed to rotate the banners, so let me do that. I'm going to rotate the banners. I always like to rotate the banners because then I get to tell you guys stories. And I got John on Instagram, GMF_sports_consultants, and pretty hard to find him. It's GMF Sports Consultants and do the underscores. The same thing with 151 Sports. I mean, the underscore should not stop you from reaching out to these guys so you can cash tickets. If the underscores are stopping you from catching tickets, what the hell are you going to do with colors, letters, and numbers for Easy Sports Data? You're really up. You're battling up the wrong river. But what I wanted to say was, so I'm doing this updated sheet, and it says Seattle in the first half, 10 points or less. And I look, and I'm looking at the sheet. I don't realize, because we have the technical issues with my computer, this sheet is 2 weeks old. Because last week I didn't do it. I just hand wrote it. And so it's the same trend. What happened is in week 10, they gave up some points, and then they came back and they did the same thing. So it's now 10 out of 11. In the first half, they've given up 10 points or less. At home, it's 7 or less the last 6 straight. So you know what? That's a powerful trend, and that's where they're playing here in a few minutes, right?
For Seattle, that's shocking. That's an interesting number. Yeah, definitely got to take it.
And again, when you're dealing with data, things will jump off the sheet at you, and single digits will do that because single digits. Okay, you're on. He says single digits have more space in the spreadsheet because they're single. Whenever October 10th came around in the old days, it would screw up your templates because it's the only time of year that you start using 4 numbers.
Yep.
Up to that, 930 was the biggest number you had, and then it goes to 1010, and on 1010 it would screw up your files. But it worked out okay for us because you know what, it is what it is. If the Rams don't score 10 points, but now that you look at the Rams and the Rams score, so it might be something's got to give. That's our show on To Be Determined with Mo, where he looks at 3 games every week. And this week he's looking at Dallas, New York, because they both are winning. He's looking at Kansas City and who are they playing, Wes?
Buffalo.
Yeah, and Kansas City, Buffalo, because all Buffalo does is win against the spread, and all Kansas City does is lose against the spread. And then the last game is the Baltimore game, because those are 2 good teams as well, right? It's Baltimore at the Colts, I think.
The Colts have been a little disappointment on defense compared to what they were last year, but
definitely.
Yeah, but if you're betting their team total over, you don't mind the other team scoring quickly because you get the ball back,
Yeah, if you're betting totals, I mean, the quicker the other team can score, it kind of pushes the offense for your team to kind of come and score back, So yeah, you don't mind that as far as team totals go.
No doubt. All right, so anything in that Houston game, Blackhawk West, or that Coastal Carolina game that leads us to believe that we should go back in for more money?
No, well, we're probably going to, if Coastal doesn't convert this third down, we're going to see a discount, but they are up 10-0. So I am not so interested in taking said discount just because if they don't score on this series, I mean, that's very unlike Coastal to not score. And they're typically over 28 points or over 4 touchdowns in every first half other than one this year, which was Buffalo, a run-heavy team. So, I'm not ready to go back in.
So what I'm looking at is so let's do it. Let's help people cash a ticket. You're looking at a specific number, and if that number shows up on the screen, you're going in again, right?
Yeah.
And that's the team total for Coastal Carolina.
The original first half number was 22.5. It was low odds, but that was the original number. I went back in at 27.5, which that was my place. Now, anything above that, or anything there above, I may look at unders, but they're a hard team to bet against when they can score in 3 seconds.
Yeah, if you look at the other way to go, baby, is at some point in time, you go against Arkansas State. But right now it's sitting at 24.5. You're getting plus money for it, but it's 24.5. So that's 3 scores if you only got 10 now, right?
That's 3 scores. And
so when I hop over to the Houston game, it shows me it's still 14-0 there. And the first half, the total is sitting at over 30.5. What did it open at? It's got to be right around there, right?
I think that was a little bit lower. That was around 28.
Yeah, let me go there.
I think the game was around 60. So usually
30, 28, 30, somewhere there. Right?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And again, those it's hard. Tulane's got a good defense at home. It's hard to get games over if the Coastal Carolinas if the Arkansas States and the Tulanes of the world don't help. So, that's why those team totals are the way to go. You don't have to worry about the other team. I could leave the room when the other team has the ball. You know what I'm saying? I don't even have to watch the game.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do now is we are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk some Canadian football. We're going to talk about Saturdays to be determined because we will be on again this week. We're going to talk about John's NFL plays, and we're going to continue to try to cash tickets. Now, technically, we haven't cashed any live tickets yet, but we haven't lost a bet. And I guess if you hopped on when we said it early and you bet that team and they went for the game, then you could cash a ticket. But when you come back, we're going to look to cash tickets live. I don't want to differentiate guys from a cash ticket. They're like my children. I love them all, but they're all unique in their own very way. It's Sports Betting Weekly.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
You keep lying when you ought to be truthing. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly, where we are trying to cash some tickets today. Now, we're trying to cash tickets actually for the people that are paying attention to us because we're already doing a pretty good job of cashing tickets for ourselves. But while we were at break, I was able to get my other monitors up and rocking and rolling. So I actually have now both of these games, the ability to watch both of these games so I don't have to totally rely on you, Wes. I can go back and forth myself. Now, let's do this. Let's talk about the game. Now, if you really want to celebrate Thanksgiving, and you know what I didn't do, Wes? I didn't talk about the Canada Thanksgiving. I'm going to in a bit. First of all, I want you to explain to everybody how CFL works this weekend.
Yeah, so Monday is Thanksgiving in Canada, and it's not, in Canada, it's not as big of a holiday as it is here in America, but it is still a significant holiday, significant enough for them to have a doubleheader of football games. So, I actually was looking up, what is served for a Canadian Thanksgiving. So it looks like it's turkey, it's ham. I mean, they will do beef of some sort, and it's the mashed potatoes and vegetables and everything else. So it's about the same as an American Thanksgiving, and they got the football. The only difference is it's a Monday in October versus ours being a Thursday in November.
Second Monday in October since 1957. But if you're paying attention, you want to cash some tickets. I told my wife, I said, honey, we got 3 football games on Monday. She didn't get it. I said, yes, 10 o'clock is a football game. So we're excited because we're not going to eat Thanksgiving food on a Monday at my house. I might be drinking a smoothie, but the bottom line is I got 3 games of football and I'm going to watch all 3 of them. So pretty much excited. But if they want to get the information on who to bet, what do they got to do?
Well, they got to follow us, and they got to tune in for the Saturdays in Canada.
Saturdays in Canada. It's the Thanksgiving Day edition of Saturdays in Canada. I haven't done any commercials for it, but I like that one. You can use it again every year, too, right?
Gobble, gobble.
Because every Monday and second Monday in Canada, they're going to play Canadian football. And the date is really doing a good job, but there is a game we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah, tomorrow night we got Edmonton going against Winnipeg, and it just – right now, Winnipeg, a couple weeks ago, I questioned their ability to score points because they weren't scoring points. Well, it turns out they didn't have to score points because of how good their defense is. I mean, their defense is by far the best defensive team in the league. 2 of their guys are the top 4 in sacks in the league. They got more interceptions than anybody. So, but now Zach Collaros, their quarterback, is just playing lights out. I mean, he's scoring points left and right. I mean, they are just – Winnipeg is hitting their stride, and it's just hard to figure out a team that's going to beat them. The spread is anywhere from 8.5 to 10, depending on where you find it. My action is at 9, so it's not good for your health to bet against Winnipeg, no matter who the opponent is. And, Edmonton doesn't score points at times. And along with most of the teams in the CFL, there's been inconsistencies at quarterback. And, Edmonton's had some of those injuries as well. So I'm on Winnipeg, and I'm laying 9.
Yeah, all Winnipeg does is score 30, and all Edmonton does is give up 30. It doesn't take that. You had me at 30. You didn't need to say anything more than that, No doubt about it, but looking forward to that for sure. And then, again, check in Saturday, 8 a.m. San Diego time, hence the reason why we have a Wake and Bake segment on To Be Determined, because it's very early in the morning, 11 o'clock Eastern, of course, 11 o'clock Eastern time. That's 10 o'clock where you are, right, Wes?
11 o'clock Eastern is 10 o'clock my time, yes.
Yeah. There you go. And so, yeah, you'll be able to get the 3 games because there's a Saturday game and 2 Monday games. Now, when we talk to Black Hawk West about Canadian football, it's, you're talking to a guy who he knows more than me and John put together. And I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I'm going to say this guy, John West, he knows more than baseball than me and you put together, I think. I really do.
Oh, there's no question. I don't even think about baseball as much as, yeah.
So anyway, what we're going to do is talk to him about the playoffs. We got there's going to be 4 series. There's going to be a lot of opportunity. There's going to be times where he's betting the one team one night and the next team the other night, right? I mean, John, talk to us about if we've never ever bet Major League Baseball postseason before. What do we got to look for?
Yeah, you kind of hit the head on the nail there. It's I view postseason as like following the opportunities within the series there. And I'm not betting full units on anything in the MLB playoffs. These teams are really, really good teams with top-notch pitching. And, it only takes, a couple of swings of the bat to change the momentum either way. So these are quarter units. These are half unit plays. But yeah, I'm looking for situational, advances that I can make in game. And then also, during the series throughout the whole playoffs. Like, for instance, as I said before, I was laying off Tampa. I'm hoping that they might get down by a run, and then I might jump on them in game to kind of get some better odds and get a better line on that. And that will be the extent of it. I might look back at Houston again. They're at home, and traditionally, Chicago White Sox don't really have that much experience, or they don't really perform well in the playoffs, other than a couple of years back, 10 years ago, when they made it that far to the World Series and won the World Series. But other than that, I would I would stay away from them. I like Houston in this opportunity, and I also like the Rays. I like the Rays in the series as well. They have a veteran team. They have excellent pitching. They continue to do what no other team has done. That's put a bunch of no names on the field with a very low payroll and continue to dominate almost the AL East with over 100 wins plus this year. So pretty impressive if you ask me.
Look at how much money the Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees spend on the salaries.
Yeah.
And they're both, what are they both doing tomorrow? Watching. Actually, they're watching tonight. Right? Yeah. No, Boston's still playing. Boston
is still playing, but they obviously have a tough road there to play the Yankees, which they won, and now they get Tampa Bay, which is I think one of the clear-cut favorites in the East, at least in my opinion, with their pitching and their hitters that they got. But their payroll is a third, a quarter of what I mean, you could almost add up 2 Yankee players, and I think that's the payroll of the Rays.
The whole team, yeah. It really is crazy. It is crazy. All right, so where are we at? We are looking at the list that talks about Saturday's to be determined. So what do we know so far about to be determined? We know that we've got 4 handicappers that come on, and the wake and bake rotates. We know that we haven't had a losing week yet, and we've had quite a few. I think we've had 4 or 5 perfect weeks from callers or from guests. So, and that's, one of the reasons I'm almost always going to ask you guys to do 3 so I can, again, I don't mind going 2-2. I'll go 2-2 all day long. Let me tell you right now, going 2-2 beats going 0-4. I know it, but we try to keep it an odd number so I can say that we haven't had a losing week. So, and so this week, what do we've got? We've got Hector talking some USL soccer. We have Charles from San Diego is going to join us for a wake and bake for those early games. There's a lot of great games this weekend in college football. I think what we'll do is we're gonna probably go over and talk about that with Blackhawk West, because his week last week was phenomenal, and he had some guys pissing and moaning at him. It's an amazing. You go 7-1, it's not good enough for you. What are you gonna do? And then let's see, who else do we have? Who else do we have? We got Blackhawk West, Saturdays in Canada. Duh, it's Thanksgiving Day. We're pretty excited about that. And of course, Mo from the Mo Radio Show. Mo's really good too. Mo's good. He knows his stuff. I mean, you know what? Because he covers it, from a radio standpoint, he's just very knowledgeable. He's the guy that's at the microphone asking questions. Well, you got to be knowledgeable if you're going to ask questions. Otherwise, you ask stupid questions. So let's talk some college football with Blackhawk West. I'm going to, first of all, go to the Houston game, and I see that Tulane is in the red zone. And
Tulane scored.
They did score. Okay, so I'm running late, but I got the over, so I'm not worried about that. Actually, it was a nice play, too, they scored on. It was a nice play. All right,
and they're alive. Tulane is not out of this game.
Yeah, and I went with the over, so I'll take the over. I need the over. All right, and then so let's talk about it. You went 7-1, and how many of those teams have you been betting every week?
Well, Air Force is one we've been on for a couple weeks. It was a team that we'd kind of figured out. Coastal Carolina, that was one of our plays for the first half, and we were on the first half over. That's one that we're not always on Coastal. Coastal, the approach to them this year has been team totals.
How do you make a Q? I'm trying to make a Q. First quarter. I was on them for the first quarter too.
Q. Well, with Coastal, we made a lot of money off of them last year as dogs, but some of these big numbers, I'm just not comfortable with it. But Coastal's one we're always on, and we were on Cincinnati. We were on Cincinnati over Notre Dame. I mean, there's just way too much public action on Notre Dame, and in an unproven spot with a who knows quarterback, and Cincinnati just was on a mission. So, there's a couple teams that we have been on, for a while, paying attention to. It comes and goes because there's about 20 teams that I always pay attention to or throw out the window because I do or don't like them in a certain spot. And, but some of them were new in the rotation last week.
No, you made a good point too, because the point spreads. I think that the difference, though, with the NFL, and we'll talk about this with John in a little bit. In the NFL, on any given Sunday, anybody can beat anybody. We know that. We've seen it too many times. Whereas on the NCAA, what it is, Blackhawk West, is they just keep moving the line so high that that balances the action. And at some point in time, and that's what I did last week. I told you, I hopped on that line, and I hopped on a parlay early, and I just said, give me 5 teams where I know the line's going to move. And I did pretty good so far. I still need them to cover. That they're not covering. They're giving 10.5 for the first half, so I need points. But they're going to get points. That's what they do. They're very good at scoring points. They really are.
There's some games where the line, the half point or even 1 point move doesn't even make a difference. We called it out last week that the Georgia-Arkansas game, you're either Arkansas money line because something severely wrong is going to happen to cause Georgia to lose the game, forget about the cover, or Georgia is going to blow them out and cover the spread. So, don't focus so much on the half point. Some games it just doesn't matter.
Yes, and Georgia and Alabama fall in that category many weeks, don't they? Very much so.
They do.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about this Saturday, because you know what? It's doing great last Saturday, but if these guys weren't here last Saturday, don't do them diddly squat. So talk about this Saturday.
Well, I'm gonna. Do you mind if I hit one for tomorrow night before we go to Saturday?
Oh, no. Last Friday was special.
Yeah. So I'm same reasoning behind what I'm looking at tomorrow night. I'm actually going against Cincinnati. I'm looking at Temple, and I'm taking 29.5 points. A couple weeks ago, we called for UCLA, and it was 31 points, and I'm looking at it the same. Cincinnati is coming off of the biggest game that program has ever played, a game that has put them in playoff conversation. And now they get to go. Now they get to play against Temple, and 29.5 points. Cincinnati can cover 29.5 points. That's just not their style, though. In order for them to cover 29.5, there's pick sixes, there's special teams, there's some form of help. And Temple is not a rollover, lay down type of team. I don't know that Temple wins. They probably don't. I don't even know that the game is within 15 points. But Temple is not 29.5 points worse than Cincinnati coming down off of a tremendous emotional high. I love points, and in this spot, I love taking the 29.5.
Well, that's something you could cut out on Tuesday and put as a commercials for him, because he does that. So he says things like that so many times, and then by Tuesday it's proven right. But the one thing we talked about when the teams clinch, what I said is my record betting against the team the night after they clinch a Major League Baseball playoff spot is incredibly high, because it's not physically possible for most. Tom Brady's different. He could probably play the week after a Super Bowl and put up 298 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. But everybody else is human beings, and the emotion it takes out of you, especially when there's champagne in the room, is a lot. It takes a lot out of you. So then you're late to get started in your week, because those kids were riding that high, and the coach, as much as he wants to get them back in focus, their friends are calling, their high school buddies are calling, their families calling, everybody's calling them, their phones are plugged. So you're absolutely right. And they don't need to win by 28 to keep those championships. If they win this game by 17 to 20 points, nobody's going to think anything less of them, right?
Nobody's going to think anything less of them. I mean, they win by 20. Everybody's happy.
All right. So, John, that delay in the waiting for the Rays didn't work, huh?
Yeah, I haven't been watching that game. I haven't really kept updated on it. I switched over to the NFL
game. They scored
game.
2 in the bottom of the first.
What's the score on that?
Yep, they scored at least 2 runs in the bottom of the first.
Oh, so yeah, that's, in hindsight, I wish I would have jumped on them early.
Yeah. Well, next week on Sports Betting Weekly, we're going to cover hindsight.
Hindsight betting 101, right? Yeah.
Oh, man. My hindsight record is so good this year. It's really high.
Yeah. If people didn't care about the juice, they could have jumped on that early. It's still early. We'll see what happens.
Right. You know what? Here's the thing. There might be some opportunities to talk about some live action now that we're in that game when we come back from break, because that really does. That shakes the numbers up, and all of a sudden, maybe picking up the other side plus 1.5 is something that is a little less costly. We'll see what happens. All right, what else do we know? We know Coastal Carolina scored, right? Coastal Carolina scored
17-0 Coastal.
They are covering the first half, and when we come back, what are we going to be doing? Cashing tickets.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
At championshipfootballs.com, they offer a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a New England Patriots fan or an Ohio State Buckeyes backer. Maybe Grams is a lifelong New York Giants supporter. Or your brother-in-law is a 12th man living in Seattle. Know a member of the Michigan State Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Baltimore Ravens fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Vikings, well, they're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggies or Tulane Green Wave alumnus, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort, you had a pretty good season, footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Hey, this is an important message. I'm Second Half Chaz from Sports Betting Weekly. Sports betting is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If you're hurting yourself by gambling with money you don't have, check out our website for the Gamblers Anonymous phone number.
When Vince Young scored on 4th and 5 in the 2006 Rose Bowl, two things happened. The Texas Longhorns won the NCAA title, and ChampionshipFootballs.com was born. From Texas to Alabama to Ohio State, and now for Super Bowl winners too. ChampionshipFootballs.com is the place for the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, 10 years later, ChampionshipFootballs.com has the autographs too. See if any of these names remind you of a special time in your football life. Michael Bennett, Lou Holtz, Joe Montana, Devin Smith, Jameis Winston, Rocky Blyer, Rocket Ishmael, Ara Parsegian, Mike Stonebreaker, Chris Zorich, Luther Bradley, Todd Light, Tony Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Dave Casper, Marcus Mariota, Rudy Rudiger, David Tyree. Enter the promo code RADIO and you'll instantly save $50 on any of the ChampionshipFootballs.com autographed footballs. ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. I am Second Half Chaz. I've got Blackhawk West and John from Jim F Sports, and we are covering some live action. We got some baseball games to look at. We got some college games to look at. So technically on my plate right now, I got 4 games, which is really, for my little brain, about 1 too many. I can handle up to about 3. Once it starts getting to 4, that's why it's so hard. I was talking to you before about that, Blackhawk West, about the CFL games on Saturday. I have trouble finding them and getting into them and knowing when they're at because I just can't barely handle college football. Now, I do have some good news. The MD's Fantasy Show, which is on Belly Up Fantasy, has moved to Friday nights this year. Friday nights starting tomorrow. So that gives me my Saturday nights to get drunk again. Not that I didn't have a pretty good little snoop fall when I got on the air with those guys, but I try to treat it with respect, you know, no different than any other thing you're doing. You with somebody else, you don't want to mess up because you're drunk. I don't get drunk very often, but I'm not against it. I'm not against it. All right, so where are we at with these 4? Do you have anything besides, John, those 4 things that you're looking at right now?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of laying low, and this NFL game, which I'm currently watching right now, I really had no part in that. I kind of gave out a teaser to my guys, you know, just because Seattle at home and the under, but that was on the teaser. So I'll probably stay away from that. I'll just kind of keep an eye maybe on that raise to see if something changes in that one.
Yeah, I actually did not realize it because I get busy, but I threw in a first quarter parlay with Coastal Carolina and the over in that Houston game. So when that Houston scored right before they scored with like 30 seconds left, I think that actually puts me live. I'm live on this game for a 3-teamer. It's under 10 for the first quarter. And I'm about halfway there with no points. So you know what? These teams can score fast. I know that. Yep. But I'd rather be live than threw it away already, you know.
Right.
Am I wrong there? All right. So are you watching the Tampa Bay game at all?
No, I'm not. I'm actually on this. I'm watching the NFL game right now.
Okay.
I'm stay away from that Major League Baseball game. I might go, switch back periodically to check in, but my main focus will be NFL. Just kind of watch it tonight.
All right. So Black Hawk West, they went for 2 in New Orleans or wherever they're playing.
They did. They know that the spread was 6.5, and that's how they do it.
Yeah, I was shocked to see that. But we'll see what happens. Right now, we got the CC team. We call it CC in our text. It's just CC. You know what? And it could be credit card. It could be copy. Copy to person, carbon copy. But the bottom line is, it's been Coastal Carolina now for 12
a year.
14 years. Yeah, but I mean, in terms of
go back to last year with us.
Yeah. In terms of how many weeks they made a difference, and they play a lot of Thursdays, a lot of Fridays, and you talked about it with the Cincinnati play Benton Temple tomorrow. Is that last Friday just was really nice, and this team Houston was there too.
Yep, Houston was too. Houston was a great one. We caught them as dog outrights last week.
Yeah, that was and again, every week I get 2 or 3 as I'm going through the data. Why is this team favored? Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it shows up. One of them was Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech wasn't giving up more than 20 points a game, and then the next thing I know, they were already down by 20 points. So Georgia Tech ain't going to score 20 points, that's for sure. All right, so let's look ahead then. We've got a full week 5. We'll start with Blackhawk West. Have you already got your 5 plays for your contest in yet?
I was really close to jumping on Seattle, and I texted John first thing this morning. It was hey, I'm probably going to send you my plays because I like Seattle tonight. And then I talked myself out of it, and I did that because just so much can happen between now and then, and the spreads won't change. So the circumstances change, but the spreads won't. So waiting till Saturday, we might be able to catch some lopsided spreads. So I have my plays. They're not submitted, but I'm pretty sure I have the ones I want.
Yeah, and then what about you, John? Where are you in that process for this week?
Yeah, I already got 2 locked in on definite, ready to go, and then I'm going to finish the rest tomorrow, kind of home in on the other 3. That's
so
kind of
look at that. Let me ask you.
I'm not ask you.
So that you made a great point. So when you say that, what was it about those 2? You don't have to tell us. Just about those 2. What was that said? Hey, those are 2 that I'm in. Those other 3, what was it about those 3 that you haven't picked yet? Was it the matchup? Was it late for weather? Was it injuries? What was it?
Yeah, I'm just kind of waiting to see some line movement in these 2, but I almost take a look at last week. Well, as soon as Monday ends, and I take a peek in front of the lines, I already know probably 1 to 2 teams that I'm already going to take on Monday, and I'm going to keep my eye on that and watch the line movement and see, obviously, injuries, COVID, whatever may take place. But that's kind of how I've been doing it. And then the rest of those 3 final for Circa, I'll kind of narrow down, because out of those 3, I probably have about 5 or 6, and I'll chop those down a little bit to try to give me a little better advantage on those last 3. And I'm sure me and Wes will conversate tomorrow and maybe possibly early Saturday and try to brainstorm 1 or 2 more to throw in there. But yeah, I got 2 definite. That's kind of how I've been doing it, just from the lines that don't make sense to me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, the difference between betting the game Sunday and putting your circuit picks is by Sunday, the line movement could make a difference.
Yep.
Circuit, the difference is, okay, I know the matchup, right? I think I know what the line should be. And then the line comes out, but it's really what the circle line is that all matters when it's a contest, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, those lines come out Thursday morning. So, and like Wes was saying, they don't change. So you got Thursday, Friday, Saturday up till Sunday morning, and we know it's late Saturday night, Sunday morning is when all the money really starts pouring in. At least the public. The sharps are already in it. Similar to us in the beginning of the week, but that public money is going to swing, and that's where the sports books kind of change. The odds and stuff like that.
Right, and that's the one thing about those contests, as we talked about, is how many losers. And I said it on the show, and the next week they were 0 for 5. The consensus top 5 in those contests was 0 for 5. Now, that doesn't mean, it doesn't differentiate the guys that have their picks on Thursday because, like you said, they might bet those on Thursday unless the line's going in the opposite direction and it's going for them. Then they're going to hold off and wait and ride that because, as you know, 2.5 points is a big difference in an NFL football game.
Oh, that's huge. 2.5, 2 points. That's a swing. You're talking about if you're going, 6 to 8 or 7 to 9. You're talking about an extra score, an extra possession. So that really changes the way, at least from a professional betting standpoint, I think, to look at it.
Oh, no doubt about it. All right. So speaking of that, I'm switching the banners over to the page, the Bitly page, our cash tickets page, and I always tell people, the cash and tickets is the key because when you're cashing tickets, it allows you to do it. An example is in this under in the NFL game. I'm no longer watching that game. And the reason I'm not watching it is because I have the under. And now that under is worth 6 times what I bet it because I got the first 2. So when I do that, I say to myself, you know what? If as long as I cash tickets on those first 2, and I did, then I keep moving and I keep grooving because you never know when you're going to get high. You could go 2-2 right in the early games on a Sunday, or 3-3 in the early games. Because remember, college doesn't really have early games; it has games after games after games after games.
Yeah, that's all day.
Right.
Hours.
Just like we did Friday night, you could really do a good job with your bankroll, but as long as you got some tickets to cash, there's nothing worse. And unless we talk about it with the commandments, bet the last team first, because if you run out of money, they're covered. It's just a matter of if, not when, And sure enough, when you run out of money, what's going to happen is those next plays you're going to go on a streak. You might not win them all, but you'll end up going 3-1. So you're on your plays. You were 8-1 or whatever you were in the afternoon, but in the morning you were 0-5 and you blew all your money. And it happens. Don't get me wrong. It's especially when you're drinking. That's why I always like to get my bets in before I wake and bake. It's just, look at today. I ended up, I did that, but I had 2 bets on the same play. Turned out it was good for me. But usually, as you know, if you double up and you get home and your tickets, now I say get home with tickets, John, you can experience that. But Blackhawk West doesn't have very many days that he's coming home with a ticket in his hand. He's betting online. But even online, you could double click and not realize it till later, to where, you always notice it after the fact when you win, because your budget goes up. Sometimes you don't realize it till you lose. You say, yeah, my number's not adding up. And then you go in there and you double clicked on Syracuse minus 17.5 and they got beat on the field or something. What are you going to do? All right, so we're at halftime. We're talking about Coastal Carolina. It's 3rd and goal. They're up 17-0. Do you guys, the Blackhawk, what? Do you have this game?
I think that you are just a touch behind.
Not now. I thought a touchdown.
It's 24-0 Coastal, and it is now halftime. So 22.5 cashes. That's
the same thing with when they're watching the games downstairs. If I'm behind upstairs, even though we're all on the same system, I'm watching the TV on my computer. What'll happen is they'll be screaming, and they'll let me know what's going on before the ball's even snapped. So I actually, because I clicked off, I went over to that Seattle game, and so far I'm looking good there too. So I'm just gonna shut my mouth. Just gonna shut my mouth right now and find out what John is doing this weekend.
We're going to be leading on West for some college on Saturday. Like I said, I kind of piece Saturday, as the day goes along. I tell my guys, if we are winning, we keep playing. If we are losing, then we're going to start really slimming down and taking it easy and pump the brakes. Yeah, that's the mentality that you should have. Bankroll management, being responsible. I know it sucks. Nobody wants to hear responsible and gambling together, but it helps in your pocket. Believe me that. And then it's going to be on Sunday. Already looking ahead for Sunday. That's, football's kind of where my mind and where my heart is right now. So that's going to be my main focus.
No, I will say that I have very, very often spent baseball playoff games in sports books.
Mm-hmm.
Man, because you know what? There may be only 5 runs scored, right? In a well-played Major League Baseball playoff game. Yep. And every single one of them, place goes bonkers. I mean, we're talking about just shaking the wall crazy. So, there's not fun when you live in Vegas.
I wasn't at a sports book, but I can only imagine just that Dodgers Cardinals. I mean, especially over here in Las Vegas, where we're so close to LA, there's so many Dodgers fans. So I would imagine that anywhere you were at, that they were going crazy. I got a few Dodgers fans, and believe me, when that home run at the bottom of the ninth, the text messages started scrolling up, and it was, I could only imagine.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. All right, so Blackhawk West, you did cash the team total over for the first half. Are you going to touch this game in the second half?
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at the second half, but the second half, I'm not so much looking at what Coastal's going to do in the second half. I'm looking at Arkansas State team totals. It's not that Coastal is going to – it's not that they are notorious for calling off dogs, but they're playing App State next week. That's a bigger game for them than what they're dealing with right now. Arkansas State right now, 13.5 team total, kind of looks nice.
Well, this is the kind of game where you get kids experience for when the next kid gets hurt, right? They can pump him in there, and he's never played before. So, that's totally. Actually, you might be talking me into looking at that bet as well as the over for the game, because Coastal guys they're good. The second string guys are gonna be good. This is Coastal. They've been good for a while now.
They're reported on, I think, regardless of who's in there. Obviously, those guys want to put up points. They want their numbers in the paper. They want to put up those stats too. And you're talking about an Arkansas State team who is the worst defense in the league. So, it's not a question of how much is Carolina going to score. Or how is Carolina going to score? It's going to be how much exactly are they going to score. And like Wes said, you could probably see Arkansas State. I mean, that's 2 touchdowns. If Carolina gets up, throws up another 2 touchdowns, they might be able to give 1 or 2 up here.
Yeah, so I am officially live, though, on the parlay because I got them for the first half at minus 10.5. I have them for the game minus 17.5, so I'm good there, too, right now.
That's good.
So that's all you want, right? The first team of a parlay is very important because all of a sudden, then you start getting to where you've got other opportunities if things come on. And I try to always, whenever I have a parlay that are my plays, not just a parlay. Like John says, when I go through the waves of a Saturday, I got parlays at 9 a.m., wake and bake. I got parlays at noon. I got parlays at 3. I got parlays at 5. I got parlays at 7. However, I will say West Coast football this year is very, very unusual that the Aztecs are probably one of the best teams on the West Coast. It's kind of scary for me to say that, but it is. Of course, they just got in the top 25, so as soon as they do that, inevitably they lose. So it may not be this week because I think they're playing somebody they should beat up, but they tend to do that. I don't know why it is, but they tend to do that. All right, so where are we at? West this weekend.
It's all about college. At this point, I'm reading the form very well, as you would say if you were at a racetrack. So I'm looking at college. There's some big games. This Iowa Penn State game, I mean, that matters. That really does. I'm not so much as an investor, but that game matters. I think this Georgia Auburn game matters very much too. Not so much for the spreads, although I do love Georgia there. But Auburn is one of those teams that can be a disruptor. So that's going to be an interesting game to watch. Oklahoma, Texas, this is a game that matters. So, it's all about college from, 11 o'clock here all the way until, 11 o'clock at night. The NFL, it's really, try and win a couple and protect the gains. I've been cashing out on Saturdays, and then if we have a productive Sunday, I'll cash out again on Monday. I went from Money Monday to cash out Saturdays.
Oh yeah, I've cashed it 2 or 3 times early. No one's going to yell at you for that. I'm pretty sure. That's a fact, Jack. And really is the same thing for me. I'm excited to start early. I'm a few minutes away from going 3 for 3 today. And you know what? 3 for 3 is 3 for 3. I don't care what you're doing. I always talk about the kids. When they were growing up, I could never get 3 weeks in a row where they would take out the trash. But I'm ahead. So where am I, Wes? How much time is left in this first quarter for this under that I got in the pro game?
The first quarter is 30 seconds. We're dwindling down to the end of the first quarter.
Okay,
here.
so I'm about 40 seconds ahead of the rest of the world. So I'm going to shut that off.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're looking at doing. If you want, you just go to Sports Betting Weekly sportsbettingweekly.com. Remember, this show is always available at sportsbettingweeklylive.com, the last show we do. And you can pick the picks off of it. And I do. I mean, when I'm doing it, I sit there and I write it down. I got my John, I got my Wes, I got Hector, I got Mo, I got whoever's on Wake and Bake. I got all the guys. I got Wes is all Canadian, but Wes is easy because I already got the 6 bets a game data, the Easy Sports data sheets in front of me when I talk to Wes. All I got to do there is circle. Everybody else, I actually got to write stuff down, All right, and then later tonight, okay, let's real quick. We're gonna go
Houston cashed. I just want to update that Houston over 16.5 for the first half just cashed on a big. And I'm surprised they got it. It's normally college kicker.
Yeah, no, man, there is nothing worse than needing a college kicker. I'd rather have a liquored up kicker than a college kicker any day. But real quick, John, before we let you go tonight, any other things that you could possibly see yourself betting on in any of the stuff we talked about?
I'm sitting tight. I cashed the same as West at Coastal Carolina first half. I also have them for the game. So we're sitting pretty at that. That will be it. Unless Boston scores some runs, I will look to kind of delve back into Tampa Bay if I'm getting some plus money. Really no action on the pro game. I'll just be laying low and I'll take the cashes that I got with Coastal Carolina and Houston earlier today.
How about you, Wes, tonight?
I'm looking at this Houston and Tulane game because I don't think Tulane is dead. I was afraid of the 6.5 in Houston, but now that I've seen this game, I think Tulane's got a legitimate shot here. So I'm probably in the second half going to be taking points in Tulane.
There you go. All right. Again, check us out. This is sportsbettingweeklylive.com. You can catch us on the Belly Up Podcast Network. You could catch us on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I am Second Half Chaz. Always be cashing.